and we are recording. And welcome everybody. This is Susan Walker. Welcome to the Friday, November, what is the date? 17th. The 18th? 17th. Yes, okay. November 17th conversation in Perfect Connections. Let's start with introductions. Sandy Solter, you're on.
Sure, I'm Sandy. I work as the parent educator in the Fairmont area schools. I also am the person here who does outreach and home visits and other things. I'm also currently a student at the University of Minnesota, finishing up my master's in family education, and will be student teaching in the spring so that I can wrap up officially being a licensed parent educator. So that's me. I will call on Abby.
Hey, it's good to see you guys. I haven't been on for a while. I'm Abby Zostra. I teach for the Wilmer Public Schools as a parent educator. This is my first year being actually licensed, so that's fun. And then I taught kindergarten before that, and so did my early childhood and then went back and got my parent ed. So it's a good feeling to be licensed. But yeah, other than that, it's been a busy fall, and I thought, yay, I get to go for a little bit today. So, and I'll go to Greta.
Hi, I'm Greta Nelson, and I work in Cambridge Isani Schools, and I'm a parent educator here, as well as early childhood screening coordinator and an internal coach for preschool, those kinds of things. The things we add to our list in order to try to make full-time hours. So if you can think of it, I probably do it in some manner or another. Was there a question? I'm so sorry. I was just listening, but I didn't listen well enough. I think that's it. Is that it? Katie? How about Katie?
I was trying to nod at you. I don't think there was a question. Hi, I'm Katie Anderson, the parent educator in Jordan, Minnesota. And I actually had guest speakers all this week. So I'm excited to kind of let you know what we did. And it was a great week. It's always so fun to bring in, different people. So I will, if there's time, I'm happy to share about that. So let's see, I'll call on Nikki.
Hello, I'm Nikki Murphy, and I am a parent family educator in Robbinsdale area schools. And I am a home visitor. So when I'm thinking about, like what Greta said, what do we add to our, what do we add to make our 1.0? That, and then in Robbinsdale area schools, all of our parent family educators are also connected to our elementary schools for the birth to third grade alignment piece. So I have 2 elementary schools, and I do some groups with 2 of our high schools, they're parenting students. So that is me. And I will go with Yuji.
Thank you, Nikki. Hi, my name is Yuji. I work for a nonprofit organization in New York City. It is called Family Kind. Actually, I am a licensed parent educator from Minnesota, and this is why ECFE is my, is my, I would say, home program, and I look forward to go back, and I'm so happy to be able to come to our group, PC group again.
Yuji,
Okay.
are you not in Montana anymore?
I'm still in. I'm working remotely. Yeah, remotely. So I do have a topic I would like to, to talk if there's a chance today. I want to see how can we help parents to help their children improve their mathematics learning, and what other resources. So that is my talk today. Thank you. So I'm going to Sarah Hardy.
Coming. Hi, everybody. Let me turn my camera on too. Good to be with you all today, sort of half in, half out, but I'm enjoying listening and hearing all these voices that I recognize. I'm Sarah Hardy. I am a licensed parent educator in Minnesota. I currently am only working for myself in my business called Generations Parenting Support. I shorthand that GPS, running parenting groups and support for parents of kids like K-12 plus, basically. And that's been something I've done kind of on and off since COVID, depending on my degree of connectedness to a district. I also have done some ECFE parent educating as well, which I absolutely love, but I am not doing that right now. And I think I got everything. I think I answered all the questions. Thanks. Nikki, you're next.
I went. Let's go. I think Nancy.
Yep, I'm here. I'm just listening today because I'm taking care of a couple of very sick twin grandsons, poor duffers. I'm Nancy Trahey, and I'm the licensed parent educator for Albany School District. And I'm just going to listen today primarily because I didn't want to miss the continuing discussion on this topic. I am not full-time anymore by choice. I stopped teaching preschool and continue just with parenting education. I do home visits in all our ECFE classes, and with encouragement from some of you that were there at our retreat this summer, I'm trying that infant age again. We have been successful with toddlers, but the infant class sometimes, has as many as 10, sometimes has 0. So it's been a kind of an ongoing frustration. So I, as I said last week, I have a breastfeeding consultant who's going to work with that with me. And I'm trying to add on a few more people to do that class collaboratively so that it's a richer experience for our parents of newborns. And I think I'm going to go to 16 weeks instead of just 12 weeks. Unless somebody has some thoughts about that, I should avoid that. Let me know. And I think maybe Becca, here comes Becca. So I'm going to toss it to Becca when she's ready. Becca, we're introducing ourselves.
Okay.
I don't think there's really a question unless you have a topic you want to talk about.
No, I've just had a very frazzledy morning, so thus joining at 12:24. I just got home. I'm Becca. I'm a parent educator in Maplewood, or District 622. Is there anyone who hasn't gone yet?
No, you are. We save the best to last.
No.
Great to see you. No, we were going around. One thing, Becca, is last week we talked about sort of building relationships with different community partners for various reasons. And that was a pretty lively conversation. So we're continuing that. And then as we've gone around, we've identified some topics. Also, people wanted to share a topic like things that are added, how you add additional activities to your work schedule so you get up to 1.0 FTE. And then also Katie had a great week of guest speakers. And so she's going to share with us, which is a wonderful tie as well to talking about community partnerships. Yuji asked about helping parents help their young children learn math. And I have a terrific resource for you there. Yeah. And yeah, so and I'm just thrilled that you're all here today. So let's open up, let's spend the next, of course, timing with this group is like horrible, right? Because I mean, not just that, like we can't set time limits on because everything is related to everything else, but I want to be sure that we get to the topics because they're great topics too. So let's just, for the heck of it, say that we'll talk about like community relationships for the next, say, 10 minutes, and then we'll see where we're at, and then go from there. After we welcome Ellen Hafner, who is able to join us. Hi, Ellen. Oh, there she is.
Everybody.
Hi. And so Ellen, I don't know how much you heard, but nothing. Okay, a quick thing. We're just going to pick up on our discussion from last week about community relationships and relationship building and partnering and things like that. And then move to a few of the topics, and I'll copy and paste that text back into the chat so you and Becca can see those. Okay, great. Okay, great. So actually, thinking about community relationships, let me just open it up. Is there anything from last week that you wanted to continue, like a thought you had that you wanted to make sure that we continue talking about, or a question? Okay, so then what general questions or interests do you have today related to community partnerships? And again, as I framed earlier, you know, we have the kind of the smaller level, like bringing in speakers, knowing about each other, so you can have families referred to ECFE, vice versa, on up to the big stuff like grant writing, bringing in dollars, creating new programs and things like that. Are there any particular interests that you have with community partnerships that you want to bring in?
Susan, you mentioned have someone like write grant, bring grant dollars. What does that mean? Like, what is that relationship can lead to that?
Well, let me bring it out to the group. Has anybody had experience in their districts with grant writing, say either you individually or your ECFE program or your school districts in partnering through grants? Nikki?
Yeah, the ones that I've written and actually received are smaller, but I can comment on a couple. One of them has been through Green Partners, it was a collaboration with Hennepin County, which is the county in which our district resides. And the Green Partners grant was to bring environmental education into the parent family education programming. And so we did stuff with the children and with the parents. And so whether it was a number of different things that we created non-toxic cleaners, we focused on reduce, reuse, recycle. We had a kids stuff garage sale, but there were, I think that one was about $10,000 and it funded quite a bit. So it was a great partnership with the county, and then they continued to share resources with us to bring into our classes. And interestingly enough, they're super interested in our population because their data, I think said, oh, I'm sorry, my battery is running low. Their information said that the people who are the most likely to make behavior change in terms of how they're interacting with the environment and chemicals are families with kids between birth and age 5. So they're super interested in our population because if we can support some of, we have those families. So if we can encourage them to not use things that are poison or danger, right? Because the signal words go in order: caution, warning, danger, poison. If we can encourage them to only buy caution and warning, that was just one collaboration. But the other one, I think a lot of school districts have their community grant funding organization. So I can speak to a couple of them that are right around here, but like Robbinsdale Area Schools has our 7 Dreams Foundation. And this is like they fundraise and then teachers.
Oh, Nikki, are you just frozen, or did your battery die? Which, just considering that it's Nikki, just seems like the silliest thing, because could we ever imagine Nikki's battery dying? So, well, let's continue. So usually I think you get a bit of an idea of from what Nikki was saying in terms of a lot of times a grant can bring in special dollars to help support a particular program. So if it's, or it's maybe it's a particular program that could be outreach to a particular population. So if a school district wanted to reach more teenage mothers or something like that, that it might be a smaller grant like that. And of course, any grant dollars are beneficial. So whether it's $100 to buy books for your parent library, you know, or it's $1 million for a 5-year program, right? Yep. Yeah. Nancy asked if the topic was on staff successfully built bridges to sometime. Nancy, could you restate your question there? Was it on the topic of ways?
I'll try. I think when we were ending last week's, there was a topic that we wanted to specifically talk about today, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I'm trying to replay in my head what we talked about last week. Was the continuing topic ways that maybe some of us have been able to build bridges to sometimes hard to engage experts, you know? Mm-hmm. So for example, we were talking about AMA last week, as you mentioned. How have people been able to build a relationship to with AMA? Mm-hmm. Or in my case, it's the medical care providers in my area trying to find a way for them to feel like they can participate with us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Nancy, is it Centricare where you are?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So we have Centricare in Wilmer too, and we've tried like since my first year, so 3 years, getting ECFE information into the clinics. Mm-hmm. And just there's a contact there that does like all the I don't know, like advertising basically, but we were able to get a hold of her and she's been able to get it into some of the providers' hands. So like, and I don't know if this is like a perk of small town, but we've given it to just different providers and they like will hang it up or they'll just kind of get it in there themselves. Mm-hmm. Because it's been a pain to you know, but just that connection. And then they're more interested in like, oh, what's ECFE? Maybe we should partner or do something with you guys. And so that's kind of helped us get more of like those experts in or informed, I guess.
Yeah. Do you remember that marketing person's name? Are they?
I want to say her first name is Brianna and her last name is Peffenstein. I can try to find her email.
Okay.
But she's been really helpful and she's very on board with like early learning and ECFE and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So would that be, is that kind of a general principle that if you're reaching out to a hospital or a healthcare organization that also serves families with babies and young children, you'd go to marketing?
I don't know. That's kind of part of my question.
Yeah, and it's an open question, Nancy. Mm-hmm. I was just sort of following from that experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes what we've done in the past is we have our community ed director is a part of the Chamber of Commerce, and so somehow she's used some of those when somebody from our local tiny little Centricare clinic is there. She's tried to make the most of those opportunities to talk to them about, the potential of, and it's not just information. I mean, I used to, when I did family ed in Wisconsin, our local clinic, we weren't ECFE. We were a Children's Trust Fund funded freestanding family resource center for our county. There was a very positive relationship. We trusted them, they trusted us. You know what I mean? It was more collaborative. And so I'd love to have something like that. Mm-hmm. And I guess we did talk about, right? The 2 new staff people who haven't been hired, or the positions haven't been posted yet, I don't think. Maybe they could assist us in finding ways to communicate the value of ECFE amongst other organizations, like health organizations that work with young families, the value of our program and how we might work together. I don't know. Yeah, I'm rambling a bit, but I'm not very focused because I've got these 2 young men here who are pretty miserable. So I'll mute myself and listen. Like I said, I was gonna.
And I think that's why this sort of, I think promoting our program needs to come from higher up. Because so many districts, so many small towns especially, are very siloed. I do this, you do this. And so that's why I'm hoping that this thing with cargo that I mentioned at the end of our last meeting comes to fruition, because I feel like it has to be a statewide promotional thing. And it's we need to get somebody good on it, because our job isn't, we are not marketing people, right? We do our best with what we have, but I really think it needs to come down. And I think that this needs to be one of the top priorities of these new people at MDE, to make sure that people know about ECFE. So, I mean, we can do what we can in our little communities, but I really think we need to be pushing the people at the top to be doing more for a trickle down effect. That's just my opinion.
So, people at the top, so we're talking about like the state level. How about people at the top, like within a school district? Like
Oh, that'd be great too. But also I know a lot of people don't have supportive community ed directors. If you have a community ed director who isn't super in touch with what you do, or they don't care, which is sad. I mean, but I've lived in it. I worked in a district and I left that district because the coordinator was so out of touch with what we were doing and I couldn't take it anymore. So that's why I'm thinking it has to come from higher above. I mean, if you have a coordinator who is really good at connecting with people, that's awesome. Great. But if you don't, then it all falls on the parent educators and the early childhood educators. And that's not fair. That's not fair to us. It shouldn't be our job to promote our program, but we want families and we want a job. So we do it. Right. But, yeah.
So a follow-up then, if in your individual programs, would you ever have, or do you have conversations like at a full ECFE program staff meeting about valuable partnerships in your community? So I listened to, so Katie has, and we're going to talk, Katie's going to talk about her guest speakers. My experience oftentimes will be as an individual educator, like I reach out to people and it might, or somebody comes to me and they'll say, would you be interested in doing, but it's one-on-one. And so it's kind of that work. And as you said, Ellen, that's not what we were hired for. It's just what we end up doing. So what I'm curious about is within your school district or within your ECFE program, do you have program discussions about what are the community groups that we want to collaborate with? How can we do that? How can we, what are those areas that we want to have more collaborations with for whatever reasons? Do those conversations happen at your program level? And by you, I don't mean Ellen alone. I mean you, the general you, people on the call. Don't all talk at once.
Well, for us, we don't do a ton of outreach because we have a good program within our walls. I mean, we don't really have room to do stuff outside. We're full every morning. We have full mornings 5 days a week and one night class, and we do special events. So honestly, the only thing we would be able to, and when my early childhood teacher does screening. So we don't have the capacity to do more on right now. So we are not having conversations about community partners because our program is doing really well within our 4 walls. If it wasn't, we would probably be sitting down and in the past we did some stuff at the library and we collaborated. But I also live in a small town where everybody knows everybody. It's very different. So, but right now we're kind of maxed out on what we can do.
Mhm. Yeah, I just think about those, again, this is where we kind of went last week as well, is, you know, to move from the individual and what do I need for my program, and then to like working within infrastructures. Because my own thing is, I think sometimes what happens is these people up here should be doing this, but those people up there don't do that and will retire before they do, right? And so then I think of more local levels, like within your own program, and if there's a need, you know, having a kind of a coordinated thing, or lobbying to the school district, or to the community ed director or something like that.
So our program is pretty small too. We only have 3 ECFE classes going right now. We haven't had a babies class go for a few years now. We haven't been able to have our night class go. Our marketing, our communications and marketing director is really good about maybe putting a picture of a toddler on the front of our quarterly brochure, or she's really open to putting out, we call them peach jar flyers. It's like a little flyer, class flyer that goes out to everybody via email with children of that age. But we are just kind of starting to talk about outreach and things we can do. My coordinator is very focused on preschool. She oversees the before and after care. So ECFEs is kind of a small part of what she does. So it's just me, and then basically the one early childhood teacher with ECFE. So we, you know, got hit pretty hard during COVID. So we're still kind of trying to build it back up again. So, but yeah, I don't know. Do you want me just to kind of go right into our?
Yes, actually, I was going to say, since you're talking about, that'd be great. Thank you, Kate.
Okay, so like I said, I teach 3 classes, and so our Tuesday morning class, which is 2-year-olds, we did kind of a self-care day. Like, they've been so excited to do this. I actually had Lorraine come in with her massage chair and do little massages. And one of the parents owns a salon. So she said she brought in like her little wax area. So she waxed a few eyebrows. She actually waxed one of our dad's little unibrow. So he was all in. He was a great sport. One of the parents brought in some like face masks, and I had some adult coloring books and a bunch of blank greeting cards for them to, you know, write a letter to somebody. The mom that brought the snack and even brought these little chocolate covered little strawberry things, which went along perfectly with our self-care day. So that was a lot of fun. They loved it. And then later on Tuesday morning, we have like 3 and 4-year-olds. It's our preschool of training wheels, kind of a hybrid. One day is ECFE, one day is drop the child off. And I actually had we have one physical therapist for the district. And so she came in to talk about the importance of physical activity with your children. And she was phenomenal. I mean, she used to work at Gillette Hospital. She brought in these cute handouts, little animal walks, just these little pictures of different things that kids can do. So she was so knowledgeable and so great. So she came to that later class. And then yesterday morning, a gal came that owns a massage business in town. And so she came in to talk about infant baby massage. So she talked about, the benefits of that for a little bit. And then she also talked about self-care for parents and how important that is. She even gave away a free 30-minute massage, which was really generous of her. So they thought that was pretty great. But it's just so nice for them, I think, to hear from someone other than me for a change. And just that community connection with our parents. So yeah, I love having guest speakers, and I think the parents enjoy it too. So yeah.
So Katie, how did you how did you make those relationships? I mean, so was this calling people cold? Now I know you met Lorraine this summer.
Yeah. No, so I love the Connecting to Learn curriculum from Jen and Becca. I use that a lot. And in the front of that, there's a list of possible ideas for guest speakers. And our district is very, like, I feel like I have to be very financially careful with what I do. So I just look local. I've had our occupational therapist come in. I've had our superintendent come in. I've had, like I said, our physical therapist came in. And then Emily, the massage therapist in the community, she's actually a former ECFE parent. So the great thing about that is she was able to talk about the benefits of coming to ECFE when her kids were little and how she still has those relationships with people. So, whenever they can get a little, plug in there for ECFE, it's always fun. So I just try to look close by, look locally. I've had a chiropractor come from in town, it just, and they're almost always very willing. I think I had our school social worker come in and talk about, I don't remember, mindfulness and, so you'd be amazed at how many people are just happy to come in and share. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And welcome to Mary and Nikki's back. Yay. So for the sake of time, if you have questions for Katie, you can reach her offline. But yeah, I think that's a great example too. Again, we can have all different levels of partnerships and forging those relationships. And sometimes it also does mean hearing a lot of no's or hearing a lot of, well, I will, but you have to pay me more money than like your entire program has, or whatever. But again, it's worth it. And Katie, quick question. How do you feel at the end of week for you as a teacher from your own work level from having speakers in the classroom?
Really good. I mean, you're still very engaged. It's not like you get to just sit back and, check out while they're there. But it's just a nice change from having to kind of plan a lesson and all the details. It's just kind of refreshing. It's just nice to see the parents connect with someone else and have them ask questions and just a lot of times they stay after and talk to the person. I've also had a speech therapist. We have a speech therapist in town. She was great. So, I mean, it's, again, that Connecting to Learn has a lot of great ideas in there, but just look within your district or your community. There's lots of options, I think.
Yeah, and I think also from a learning standpoint, certainly when we hear from multiple people and not just the same person over and over, I think as adult learners, we hear more information sometimes. And then I think the other thing sort of psychologically for a parent is that sense of well-being, that look at the resources in like we know it, but to actually see this physical person coming in and sharing their information, possibly sharing resources, and then you have this live person you can ask questions to. I would have to imagine that also contributes to a parent's sense of psychological well-being.
I would agree 100%. Mm-hmm. Great. Yep.
So let's make sure we hit these other topics we talked about today. Let's Yuji had asked about helping parents help their children learn math. The resource that I would share is there's a project, multi-state, multi-university collaborative project called DREAM, called the Developmental Something Early Math Education, that Michelle Mazzocco, if any of you know her, she's a professor at the U in the Institute for Child Development, and her whole area is on math learning, but she's connected with probably 10 other researchers, including folks from Stanford and over in Boston, specifically on this issue, on early childhood math learning. And it's a pretty interesting project, and I can, I don't have the link right in front of me, but I can add that.
I just did.
Oh, you have it?
It's awesome. It is awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
There it is. Yep.
Thank you so much, Alan.
They
I'm so excited. I cannot
they
wait.
presented at Menafee
Yep.
last year or the year before.
Yep.
It's very cool.
Yeah, Michelle has doctoral students that have written, part of their research is that they take the different principles on children's math learning and they'll create a storybook for children with those, knowing those math learning principles. And so if something that they've learned is how often a particular number is repeated throughout the 12 pages of a book, they'll do that. If it's that certain storybook characters sort of resonate better with children in terms of that computational, or yeah, anyway, it is very, very cool. I did some consulting for them in terms of parent engagement, and they're a really good group. So thank you, Ellen, for sharing that link. Yeah. Good. And then what I would say, again, for the sake of time, if any of you have additional math learning resources, if you could share those in the chat. So we have those as well, because I imagine the conversation about adding effort to get to 1.0 FTE will take us a little bit of time. So we'll see how much we can do on that. So I believe it was the amazing Greta Nelson who brought up that question.
No, I don't think it was a question. I was just saying, I'm doing a bunch of stuff, whatever it takes. It wasn't really a question. Sorry. I think I maybe misled somebody there. So I apologize.
Mimi. But it was, what are the, see, I heard it as what are different ways, different things that you add to your job to get up to 1.0?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Nikki, you and I were talking, or Nikki said she does some of that too. Yeah, so early childhood screening, I add to get there. And then internal coaching for preschool, I do that. As much as I can find to do outreach, I do that, right? Those things. And home visits. So I mean, just doing everything that's physically possible that we can provide. So that's what I was saying earlier. I feel like I can't just say a parent educator or parent family educator. It's just, there's so many components that are possible. That's all. That's really what I was saying. Sorry, might have misled you or misspoke. Sorry about that. Does anyone want to talk about it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if people want to talk about it, they can. Sorry.
And I might have misunderstood. Because I know there's oftentimes, Ellen, you were part of this discussion on Friends of Family Education. I think somebody had posted what counts as full-time in your school district. And you had reflected, even after 4 or 5 responses, I think, about how it varies so much from district to district about what full-time means in terms of how many classes you teach. And then if it's also home visiting or whatever. So Greta, with your question, I thought it was, I'm paid, like I'm paid to do this. What else can I do to get paid full time? So okay. It was okay. But Ellen, would you reflect a little bit on that conversation from Friends of Family Education?
Well, someone just asked on the page, like, if you're full-time, what are your responsibilities? And it varies so much. Like some people are like, in my district, full-time is 9 classes, which makes me always spit across the room because I teach 11 classes and I am 24 hours a week. But I'm bound by the contract. Like I can't get paid more than other teachers in my district. So I'm so confused how these other districts are paying people 40 hours a week to teach 9 classes, because then they're getting like triple the prep as other teachers. I get the same amount of prep as K-12 teachers. And actually I think I get just a tiny bit more. Like I get like an extra 5 minutes per class or something like that. So I don't know how the formulas are working in other districts. But 11 classes, apparently if I taught in St. Paul, I'd be full-time.
Wow.
You
Wow.
definitely would be full-time. I actually asked Jenny Thompson to, and she was generous enough to share her schedule that is for 1.0. And I gave it to my boss because I was just like, this is what she teaches. This is what, like I feel like her time is actually being accurately accounted for. The amount of hours that I work that are unpaid are it's almost double what I work. I'm 0.5 with 7 classes. And that's the most I've had. And if I would have had 2 more classes in St. Paul, you know, 1 more evening and 1 more afternoon, and I would have been full time. And you know, lunch and prep and like you're paid for your full day. And we're tied to the teacher's contract too, but it's weird because like preschool teachers are just paid, our preschool teachers are just paid for their like day. And it doesn't really matter what happens in that day. And we're not, we are so like nitpicky hourly. And if my class only meets like 16 times instead of 18 times in the semester because of Thanksgiving or because of this, then I don't like, I shouldn't say none of those because I have like a sprinkling of paid holidays, but like if I don't teach, I don't get paid, and for the most part, and it's very like down to the minute. You get this much time.
I'm hourly. I fill
Yeah,
out a
mine is hourly. Mine
Yeah.
is based on hourly.
I'm one of the
say
only
that-
people in the district who fills out a timesheet.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
You guys, I want to jump in just because I know I'm the voice that always says that I'm like a broken record. But I keep talking about what legislatively, right? Like we can do about this because the legislation has been passed. We are all supposed to be, every district should be on the master teacher contract now for ECFE. And so if it's not happening, I am going to encourage you guys find out not just your union rep, because some of the union reps that are local don't know what to do. Go to your Education Minnesota field rep, find out who is it that can help the district and who can advocate, because it's required now by law. Hopefully there will be more support for the enforcement of it once we have more support at the MDE. But I think that's a big piece to this, is that there just hasn't been the opportunity, right, for oversight, because
But Nikki, I'm paid according to the contract. I am paid. I am.
I don't think so, because
I am though.
you're
Like if
talking
you look
about
at Step and Lane, I make what I would make if I was a full-time teacher, but I'm not full-time. I mean, I'm not full-time. And you can't say that I am when I'm done every day at 1 o'clock. Like I'm not full-time. So they can't pay me a full-time salary when other teachers in the district are contracted 7:30 to 3:30. I don't work.
You commented on prep time. What about your electronic reporting time and all the other things that are in the contract that were given? I'm just curious to know like the extent to which teachers who have not yet been on their master teacher contract, if you've read it inside and out. And yeah, I get it that some people are hourly, but I think there's more that we can do.
Yeah, Katie, talk to Aaron Van Morlehem at Education Minnesota. He's outstanding to help you figure out negotiation and stuff. Here, I'll put his name in the chat. I'm pretty sure he's probably your person. Because we didn't used to be, and now we are. And I got paid like $15 more an hour. So
Aaron Van, what was the last name?
Van Morlehem. I just put it in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that you can be hourly. You're a prorated FTE if you're not a full FTE, right? But it's not an hourly. I mean, technically that is, but there shouldn't be an hourly thing, because that's part of what the master teacher contract does not delineate. All it says is like, if you're a that things are prorated, right? Like, so the health insurance, you know what you're allotted for your health insurance. For a 1.0, it'll say in your contract. And then perhaps if you're a 0.8, you are 0.8 of that allotment, right? So the contract, I don't believe that anyone has anymore besides the ABE, who wasn't unfortunately not included in that. I don't think there's a difference anymore. You should be just simply by the FTE.
Nikki,
I'm
are you saying ABE wasn't included in that new legislation? Is that what you just said?
I
'Cause
thought
I
it
was
I'm
was.
not sure.
the
It
union
might
and we were
be.
trying to figure that out. They were saying if we do it for ECFE, then we have to do it for, and we have to do it for ABE because, or no, what it is because ABE and ECFE are connected right now under the same, in our district, we're on the contract, but we have a different pay rates, a different pay scale. It's called Schedule D. It's not the teacher's schedule. And ABE and ECFE are together. And preschool isn't even on it yet. And they're scrambling because we don't qualify for any of those special programs that got the extra monies for preschool. So we don't have free BBK and those sorts of things. Anyway, I'll stop talking about our situation specifically, but it does feel like there's lots of unique situations and it's not the
Yes.
same thing across the board. I am the only ECFE full-time. And then we have 3 other teachers that are all part-time hourly. So, and it's just dependent upon the number of classes they teach and exactly what you were saying, Becca. If there's a holiday and they're not working, they're not getting paid.
Yeah.
And they're not getting benefits.
I
Because
think master contracts vary so much from district to district that is part of what causes this issue. That's my experience as a union rep for my department. In our district, our full-time equivalency is based on direct service contact with students. And then we get the same percentage for prep that our K-12 counterparts do. But it was interesting when this happened, when we were put on the master contract, and this has been 20 years ago, gals. The ECFE, the preschool ECFE teachers, all of us in our department, our prep hours were reduced greatly. So we may have gotten an increase in salary, but the prep was no longer, didn't take into account that you're using a room that's not early childhood friendly, for example, for your ECFE class, and you have to spend half an hour beforehand getting it ready so that it's early childhood friendly, even early childhood safe. So I think, and I know my daughter's taken some similar responsibility in her district. I won't say the name of it, but they had their regional union person come because they're having some negotiation difficulties. And they took a look at their contract and said, oh my goodness, there's so many things here that are not, that you're missing that other districts have that benefit the teachers. So, I think you have to look at your master contract rather than thinking that they all are the same. I think Ellen and Becca might be right. They're probably getting paid as much as they can get paid. But it wouldn't hurt to contact somebody from, like Aaron.
I just wish my supervisor would be open to some of what Greta does to helping flush out our hours so we could be closer to full-time, to 1.0. Because I feel like we already work that much. Can we figure out how to get compensated for it or to fill it out so we're maybe providing some more services, but I don't know, acknowledging that time. But you have to have supervisors and directors who are wanting that for you and have the budget to do it and all that.
Has Menominee had somebody from Education Minnesota come and do like a workshop, just like a Q&A workshop so that teachers can ask these questions? I mean, outside of the advocacy piece around particular legislation and things like that.
It's not a terrible idea. It could be a breakout session at Menafee.
Well, that's what
yeah. And Aaron would be awesome at that. I love him. He is so helpful. Or anybody. I'm sure he's not the only one, but I'm sure there are others who would maybe do it. So It's not a terrible idea.
Is that in his job description to?
He's a field rep. Yeah, he's a field rep. So
Okay. All right.
mhm.
All right.
He comes to our meetings occasionally.
Inviting professionals to do stuff and then finding out, well, that's great, but you know, like for me to be there, that's not in my job description. You'd have to pay me to be
No,
there.
it's totally in his job description.
Ellen, even maybe if other field reps could come, and be there to answer questions.
Well,
area.
Wouldn't it be cool if they all showed up?
Yes.
All the field reps for each area and they came. Love this idea. I'm going to send this over to Linda. Yeah. Well, first I'm going to email Erin and be like, hi, is this something that you would do? Then it would help people connect.
Yes.
People
Yeah. And
connect
so you
with
could
their
talk
rep.
further later. You can
Love
talk
it.
further later, but you've got the name and the face and the relationship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And from a standpoint of, I mean, sometimes, not everybody gets the call for workshops. And so it could be just sort of fronting, I'll write the workshop proposal and, but how many people from Education Minnesota could be there? Because you can also specify, like, they could only be there a Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, just listening to these conversations, it comes up all the time, as it should, because there's such differences. And again, I think this is the power of having groups like this, where you learn from others how things are being done, and it can make you angry. It's not being done that way, and the changes made through advocacy.
And
I also wonder,
and because of local solidarity and because of the local situations are so different. So Nikki, I love Robbinsdale. I wish everyone could be Robbinsdale, but I know that we don't have the funding, the support behind us in certain ways, because we're that middle district. We're not urban and we're not super duper small. So we're like in this middle, you don't quite, so that's the uniqueness of each district. And because of that, that's put stops on things. But it also, and this is what I've said for years, is it's kind of nice not to be noticed, because then I can kind of come and go out of the school building as my flexible schedule demands it, and not be questioned by the union saying, wait a second, we do 8 to 3, and then have to validate why I don't do 8 to 3, and then do the evening and have all that rigmarole. Does that make sense? I mean, so there's some benefits.
absolutely, it makes sense. I can speak to it because I'm 7:30 to 3:10, and I have to put in hours for the conference hours because those are compensatory days. What I was going to say too, though, I wonder if for Menafee, if it would be helpful to invite some people from MDE, because we're still under MDE, to actually come and explain the legislation. Because I think people aren't understanding it. Some of the things that I hear, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think that there's more that we can do. And so if we started at the top with like, okay, what was it that passed? And what is this supposed to mean on behalf of the educators that it impacts? I think then we're better versed to ask the questions that we need to ask.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Ellen, there are some districts I know that do conferences. They do parent conferences.
Really?
They have been watching, and it's a tool in early childhood. It's a one name tool. It's St. Francis School District does it, and they use it. And the early childhood teacher uses this tool, and then they have a specific thing for parent ed, and then they have a conference quarterly with their families, and they're measuring goals, and they're doing SMART goals and all that stuff.
Wow.
So here's the difference. So here's the deal.
Wow.
I mean, nice and maybe not easy, because we know that family systems are so different. And I still have a hard time measuring, right? I don't know.
And we see them all the time. So it's not like their kids know how they're doing. We tell them every day, he separated great. He had such a good time. We take pictures to show that they're playing with friends. So it seems redundant to me, but interesting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I gotta run, guys. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Nice to see your faces.
Yeah, I do. This is something I'm personally not going to drop, because I'm not going to write the proposal, but I am going to kind of stay at the development of a workshop like this, because bringing in these speakers from Education Minnesota and MDE about the contract, I think is incredibly useful for individual educators to hear, even to have that conversation about what does and doesn't happen in school districts and constraints to whatever, you know, so that more people have information. And if there's some latitude to make change within your school district so you get paid more, you know, and then so much the better. Well, it is 1:11 and we have wonderfully run over. So let's bring things to a close. Next week is Thanksgiving 4-day weekend or whatever it is, however you celebrate. But let's just not even plan. I mean, the link is the link. And if you want to be here and use the link with your friends, use it for your family. Oh, I should stop recording. Okay, I'm going to stop recording before I share this idea.